think minimalism gets a bad rap for being too idealistic, too extreme, too aggressive of a way to live, but I really do think it's all about intentional living. I think that there are levels to minimalism and that pursuit of less. So I've kind of broken it down into a funnel. If you think about the top of the funnel and where most people are entering this pursuit of less, I think it starts with organization. You've definitely heard of Marie Kondo. If not, go check her out. She's got the book, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. And in her book, she talks about the KonMari method, right? It's all about organization. It's all about, picking things in your life that spark joy. And that's a very interesting idea, right? Like, does this mouse spark joy? And, thinking about these things when you hold items, I think it gets you a little bit more tied into the materialistic world. But she does it in a way where it's like about fulfillment. Think about all the things in your life and like, are you surrounded by things that spark joy? Do you want to be surrounded by things that spark joy? Hopefully, yes, because the argument the book makes, and what we've read in a bunch of new research that's out there, is that fewer things in your space or a cleaner space equals a clean mind, right? Like you feel less stress, you are a lot more focused, you're a lot more alert. You don't have that clutter in your head because your physical space is actually clean. As you go into organization, the next step is curation. And then function. So we're going to talk a little bit about the difference between curation and function, because I think they both have very separate purposes, and you can have both in your life, but I do think that it's good for us to understand the difference. But at the end of the day, all three of these pieces of the funnel lead you to the pursuit of less, right? And the pursuit of less is really, it's kind of the opposite of being a maximalist, right? Where people constantly need to buy new things and need to stay up to date, buy new gadgets, upgrade their cars, get a new house, get new clothes to stay in style, all that kind of stuff. It's really the opposite of that, right? So that would be the pursuit of less, in my opinion. Feel free to let me know if you agree with that, disagree with that, all of that good stuff. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about curation versus function. So life curation, and I feel like a lot of minimalists fall in this bucket, where if you look at a minimalistic home, so let's look at that right now. You see a lot of white, first of all, right? Like for some reason, minimalist means white. I don't necessarily agree with that, but that's just how, we've been introduced to the idea. And I think because white, I guess, seems like the cleanest color, but at the same time here you've got a little bit of grays, you've got some wood, some nature finishes, some plants. That kind of vibe is very open and welcoming for minimalism, for sure. So you can see like some of the furniture, this is not like cheap stuff, like this is expensive curated things. And so a lot of people have made the argument that a minimalist lifestyle is for the rich and wealthy, right? Because you need to have like expensive things. But I just think that's because unfortunately the media has portrayed it like that, and I don't think that that's the real purpose at all of minimalism. Even if you look at this picture of these different cacti, there's no function for 5 different colored cacti, right? So that's curation. Like if you are someone who's a minimalist and you're like, you know what, this sparks joy and I'm just gonna have 5 cacti, no other plants, you still could call yourself a minimalist. You could still be on the pursuit of less, but you definitely would be on the life curation side of things versus the functionality side of things. Because the functionality side of things is all about you having things that literally have some sort of purpose. Okay, so this mouse looks hella sweet, hella sleek, hella nice. I like the color. Love it. And it's functional, right? It's not something that's just there for show. However, I'll show you this other piece of thing here. This thing right here, I bought this when I had visited my hometown, and it was a while ago. And this is one of the things that reminds me of that. So definitely sparks joy, but by no means does this have any function, right? This is just something that's really nice, and for me, it looks nice to me, and it's heavy. So for me, I feel like it's like, a prized possession, even though it has no purpose. So I think the function side of things is where people are, criticizing minimalism, just because it seems very extreme to only have functional things in your lives. So the way that I think function has a purpose is when you are completely detached to material things. So if we look back at the funnel here, right? Curation, I would think you still have some sort of attachment to material things, right? Like, and attachment to material things is by no means bad or negative, and I would love to hear your perspective on this. As humans, we've evolved to find beauty in things, and so that can be a material thing, and that's totally cool. But when it comes to function, I think it makes a lot of sense for people who are all about experience, I would say. Like you're leaving materialistic things and you're going towards experience. And so your life is a collection of experiences versus a collection of things. And so a lot of explorers, travelers, nomads, I think that they are, promoting the functional minimalistic lifestyle, because when you are a nomad and you are traveling, you can't really have a lot of things with you, right? So what you do hold on to are your experiences. What I will share with you now are some other methods that you can try for yourself. So one is this person called Cortney Carver. I don't actually know much about her. What I do know is she started Project 333. So 333 is all about living with 33 items or less for 3 months. This is only specific to clothing. Okay, so she entered the minimalism space from a fashion angle, from a women-centric angle, and clothing minimalism. So think of Steve Jobs and Mark Zuckerberg, right? Like they can wear a uniform to work. How many women do you know have done this? I don't know any women in my life who've done that. I've read about women who've done it. Having 33 items or less, I think that's a great way to think about curation, life curation, because then you're starting to think about a particular wardrobe, a particular style, a particular aesthetic for yourself. The second challenge or game that you could consider doing is the Mins game. I highly recommend this one. I've done this one myself. For the first day, you give away 1 thing. For the second, you give away 2 things. And for the third, 3 things. You end up giving away, I think it's like 456 items. I don't think that there's a magic number to hit, because a lot of the times when you think of minimalism, you think of like 1 spoon and 1 fork and 1 plate. And I think that's just ridiculous. I think that's the extreme of it, which is unattainable. Of course, this is highly simplistic, but I thought that it summed up the journey quite well, and it made it a little bit more approachable, not as extreme of like, I suddenly have to get rid of all my stuff. I think the term's just misunderstood, which is why I prefer to say the pursuit of less and not minimalism. The most important benefit in my eyes is the positive mental health piece. I think as a human society, we've bought into the narrative that we need things that make us cool, things that make us happy. We acquire things to make us seem like we are progressing, that we are doing better, right? And we have to like show it off sometimes. But I think this constant need to acquire is what leaches us of the contentment of just being ourselves. And a lot of us, I think we attach our self-worth or our self-identity to these material possessions, right? And without them, we feel this lack of identity. We feel a void in who we are. And I think that's where the problem is created. That's what I think minimalism or the pursuit of less frees us from. And it may seem like a form of rebellion, but I really think it's more of a homecoming. It's more of a coming back to your true roots of the true way that we were supposed to live. And I invite you to declutter your physical, digital, and mental space. Okay, so that's it from me.